Hello and welcome to another edition of the North Dakota Softball All-Stars podcast, the February of 2019 edition. We're about a month away from the first high school practices of the 2019 season. If we can get rid of some of the snow, maybe we can play games sometime in early or mid-April. Let me tell you, we've got a packed North Dakota Softball All-Stars podcast today. Just some of the things we're going to talk about. The plans for the 2019 Shields Softball All-Star Series getting a little more advanced. I've got an update on that for you. 4 players that we know have signed letters of intent to play college softball to add to our list. Excited to talk about that. An update on some coaches and some coaching situations throughout the great state of North Dakota. And on the podcast today, we'll have a kind of a two-part interview with Vance Christensen. He's the new head coach at Shanley. He's also part of Diamond Academy, and he's going to bring on his partners in that program and that opportunity. That would be Justin Feist and Matt Gable. So we'll talk to the three of them kind of in the second part of our interview after we talk to Vance about his new head coaching duties at Shanley. The other thing we want to talk about is some realignment across the state in softball. And why don't we do that right now? We can start with Class A because the changes in Class A are pretty minor. We welcome Watford City to Class A, and they will play in the WDA in 2019, their first year moving up from Class B to Class A in softball. So that's the minor shakeup in A. As you drop down to the smaller schools in Class B, they will stick with the same 4 sub-region format. Little shakeup with that, though. Those sub-regions will still play up into a region tournament, and 4 from the East and 4 from the West will meet in the state tournament. And the Class B state tournament this year is at the wonderful new complex at NDSU. So fantastic. So starting with Subregion 1, that's geographically the southeast subregion, if you will. And this is the subregion of all the state champions ever in Class B. Central Cass, Enderlin Maple Valley, the Hankinson Co-op, Hillsborough Central Valley, Kindred, Richland, and Northern Cass. That is Subregion 1. 3 of those teams advanced to the state tournament last year with Central Cass winning the whole darn thing. Kindred Richland getting there, and Northern Cass making their first trip to state last year. Subregion 2, also in the East region, features Dakota Prairie, Grafton, Larimore in their second year as a program, Mayport CG, they have a new head coach. We'll get to that in a little bit. So does Grafton, for that matter. Pembina County North, and Thompson, the state participant out of Subregion 2 last season. So the West gets a shakeup because we have some new teams. We have a team dropping down to JV. Maybe we start there. So Rugby High School is going to be a brand new softball program this year. They'll play just a JV schedule as they kind of kickstart things there in rugby. And Solon Standing Rock, second year as a program, they're going to play just a JV schedule this year as well. So let's look out west at the subregion. Subregion 3 features Bishop Ryan, who had a fantastic year last year in their first in Class B. Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark, they've got a new head coach in Peggy Pearson. Mel Erickson has retired. In fact, the last games he coached, I believe, were North Dakota Softball All-Star Series games, Shields Softball All-Star Series games last year. So Des Lacs, Burlington, they went all the way to the state championship game last year. They are part of Subregion 3. So is Divide County, which is a new program in North Dakota this year. Glenburn High School, you've got the Kenmare Bowbells MLS Co-op, Ray, Stanley, and West Hope Newburgh Botno. That's Subregion 3 in the West. Subregion 4, Beulah, Central McLean, Garrison Max, Harvey Wells County, just in year 2 as a program. Hart River made a good run last year, maybe their best season ever, into the state tournament. Velvet Drake, Animus, Washburn, and Wilton Wing. So the East and the West kind of do it differently. The subregions in the East will kind of do play-in games for the bottom seeds of the subregions for a chance to get into the region tournament. The West, at least what they did last year, was they played full-on district tournament style almost in their subregions to get their 4 qualifiers for the region tournament. Either way, growth in the game of softball, we're right around 50 teams, and that is just fantastic. So now that we got Class B realignment out of the way, let's talk about the 2019 Shields Softball All-Star Series, something I'm really looking forward to, year 3 of the event, to see how this continues to grow. We've already announced that we'll play Day 2, so that's Tuesday, the 4th of June, in Bismarck at the Sanford Sports Complex, the Starion Bank Turf Softball Field. Looking forward to that. There will be a skills competition and a game out in Bismarck, much like we did last year in Mandan. Day one, the announcement's in. Back to Mickelson Park, home of the Fargo North Spartans for the third consecutive season. This is going to be fun. Little addition, little twist. We'll play a doubleheader in Fargo starting sometime on Monday, June 3rd, either late afternoon or early evening. Get a pair of games in Fargo. Head out to Bismarck for a skills competition and another game. Everything possible is going to be on the ND Sports channel, so check them out if you haven't already. But we're really looking forward to this. The feedback from the kids has generally been, we love this event. We want to play more. Here's the opportunity to play more. We're going to have 3 games and a skills competition, part of the 2019 Shields Softball All-Star Series. Looking forward to that. Very thankful that Shields is back on board. We have Bell Bank returning as a sponsor so far this year, and in talks with several others who have been supporting the growth of softball in North Dakota. So we still have more to get to on the podcast. I mentioned that interview with Vance Christensen, head coach of Shanley. We're going to talk to him in that, wearing that hat. We're also going to talk to him wearing his Diamond Academy hat, and for that we'll bring in Justin Feist and Matt Gable as well. That's just coming up shortly. We also have 3 girls, check that, 4 girls who have inked letters of intent to play softball in college, and a coaching update. That's all still part of this podcast. Let's do the interview now. I'd like to bring on, they're all 3 going to be on. We'll have Vance Christensen first, the head coach of Shanley, talk to him about the Shanley program a little bit, and then we'll bring in Justin Feist and Matt Gable to talk about Diamond Academy. But Vance, we'll start with you. First of all, congratulations on being named the head coach at Shanley, and thanks for taking some time out of your day to join the program.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. A cool opportunity. I'm excited to both talk to you about your program and talk about the Diamond Academy as well. So starting with Shanley, as mentioned, you're going to be the first-year head coach at Shanley, but you're not necessarily new to the area or new to the softball scene. So in brief, instead of me doing it, I'll let you do a little introduction of what you've been up to prior to the Shanley opportunity.
Sure, yeah. So 4 years previous, I've been with Moorhead High School. I did 3 years as their JV head coach, and then I've helped run their summer program the last 4 years. I guess the last 2 years I was named as program director for the Moorhead Crush. Then with that, I helped kind of coordinate all age groups between 8U all the way up to 18U. And then specifically, I also coached the 18U league and travel team.
Yeah, now you have this opportunity with Shanley, a team that didn't make the EDC tournament last year, but actually in some of my side work, if you will, in coaching in the Fargo North program, had a couple of the Shanley kids, and I know there's young talent in the program. So obviously you're fresh, and we haven't hit official day 1 of the season yet, but what are some of the expectations and maybe some of the goals for Shanley this year?
Sure, yeah. I met some of the kids a couple months ago when we had just kind of an initial player meeting, kind of come meet the new coach. Kids seemed very excited, ready for something a little bit different. I guess what we're going to be bringing in is just kind of going back to the basics and making sure we're all on the same page when we hit the field.
And you've got a little bit of a unique program in the Class A realm in North Dakota where you have kids from, I believe, 3 different schools, typically playing home games out on the football/soccer/softball turf at Shanley. I know practices for Shanley have moved around between Mickelson and the turf over the last couple of years. And again, I know you're new to it, but kind of speak to some of the challenges maybe and some of the exciting parts of meshing kids from 3 different schools together for one team.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's probably more the challenging part there a little bit is trying to get schedules to fit for all 3 schools, especially when you start getting, at the end of the year, it seems like there's always choir concerts or band concerts. And then they also got trips and proms coming up. So that's going to be kind of the challenging part between it all. But I think the AD and I have got that down pretty good so far. So hopefully, weather permitting, we can get that, we'll get that worked around. The other nice thing is the weather isn't good, so it is nice to have that turf field at the moment. I would rather play on dirt, but turf is great this time of the year. So as far as, working with 3 schools, it's nice to, just got to get out there, get to know your kids, because gives me a little bit more opportunity to try and find more athletes.
Yeah, and one of those athletes that, for sure you'll have a senior, played a lot of first base, but it seems like she should be in her 9th year at Shanley. I think a lot of softball minds know Gabby and what she's done. We've had her on the podcast. She's committed to St. Cloud State, and you'll just get her for 1 year at Shanley. But talk a little bit about what just a player like Gabby brings to a program, that senior leadership. And obviously she's immensely talented, but like I said, she's been doing this for a long time now.
Yeah, I've spoke quite a bit with Gabby, whether if it's through messaging or just in person or over the phone. But yeah, she's great. She's pretty much just like having another coach. She's very a lot of knowledge of the game itself, and she's pretty much just chipping right in with whatever we need to do to kind of get everything going for open gyms or captain practices, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, kind of parlaying here into the second part of our interview, we've been talking to Vance Christensen here. He's going to be the first-year head coach at Shanley when things get going in, about a month from now, I guess, first official practices. But aside from just the high school head coach version of yourself, you also are involved in softball with the Diamond Academy. And in just a second here, I'll let you bring on your partners. And I think it'd be cool if each of you kind of give, why and how this came to be. But before I get into that, this is a cool opportunity that we have at North Dakota Softball All-Stars to just help in the causes like Diamond Academy. And we can share things on social media and bring attention via podcast. So excited to do this and glad that you guys were able to all get in a room together to have this conversation. So Vance, I'll start with you, and maybe you can introduce and pass off to your partners in the project, but just talk a little bit about what Diamond Academy is and how it came to be and what its purpose is.
Sure. Yeah, it came to be just, I want to say, was that 3 winters ago? I think what it was is I was over at Moorhead, and there was a couple girls that were wanting some help with hitting, and being that I was in the Moorhead program, I wasn't able to assist them. So I just called up Justin. I was like, hey, if I sent a couple girls your way, would you be able to just kind of squeeze them in on a open night that you guys have men's fast pitch time? And Justin took them in, and he hit with them for, I think it was like 6 or 8 weeks. And they came into the spring, and they did extremely well. And all the rest of the girls are like, what did you guys do over the winter? And the next year it blew from 2 girls up to, I want to say, about 20. And then, so that year 2 went to 20. And then year 3, I think we went up to about 45 girls here.
Wow.
And then we also added Grand Forks year 3, and I think that was at 18 girls. And now we're at year 4, and our Fargo numbers are right around 90, and Grand Forks is at about 56 or 55.
Wow.
So we started off with 2 girls just wanting to get a little extra hitting, and now we're up to 148 overall athletes. And that's now a mixture of pitchers and hitters.
Yeah, and the unique thing to me is how, and it's not just you guys, and it's not just Diamond Academy, but the blend. We have really good men's fast pitch for a part of the country where we can only play outside, a handful of months a year. And maybe Justin, I'll turn to you because I played a little bit with a couple of you, but just talk about the differences maybe between the physical game in men's and how that adapts to women. And forget about the rule changes, but just teaching the girls to play the sport as opposed to guys.
Yeah, the game does have some different rules with the pitching styles and stuff, but overall, I think the biggest difference is just the aggression you see out of the guys as opposed to the girls. The girls kind of tend to be a little more timid when they come to attacking the ball or attacking at the plate, and we really that's one of the things we really focus on is when we talk about the mental game, we're really trying to make sure that you're going to be the aggressor. And if that pitcher is going to let you be laid back, or if she's going to lay back, I should say, that you're going to attack. And I think that's probably the biggest difference we see.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that too. From my coaching experience, is there's a lot of really good athletes, but to get them into the mental side of softball, it may be a different challenge than the physical set. So I guess just follow-up question, when you're working with hitters, how much time are you spending on the physical skills of hitting as opposed to the mental side of the game?
We try to do, well, in years past, we've definitely tried to do a lot of mental stuff. We usually take an extra 15 minutes to talk some mental games, approach to the game mentally, hitting-wise, pitching-wise. We talk about really trying to select a very specific spot, stuff like that. But the 1 hour that you get with us and our coaches, we spend most of it on physical stuff. And then obviously with every physical thing we do, we want to make sure that you understand why we're doing it and what you're trying to accomplish with it. So there's some mental aspect in that. And we really hope the girls leave the camp understanding why they're doing this when they're swinging and understanding why they're doing this when they're pitching, and that they can hopefully fix their own mistakes if they ever find themselves in a slump. So I'd say everything's a little bit mental, but we do focus on the hitting and we mix in the mental as well.
Yeah, and that's perfect. Sounds like a good recipe. Matt, I'll jump this one over to you as we just kind of keep moving through some of the things that you guys offer, and not just in Fargo, but in Grand Forks, and we'll touch on that more in a little bit. But at Diamond Academy, Matt, on the pitching side, that's where the rules are kind of different, but a lot of the mentality and a lot of the stylistic side of pitching is going to be the same from the men's game to the girls' high school game. So what kind of things from a pitching standpoint are you really focusing on with the younger girls?
Absolutely. And pitching and hitting we view as very similar in regards to using your entire body. And in pitching, we want to use as much leg drive as possible. We want that fast arm whip. We want the girls to be able to use different grips depending on every pitcher we deal with is different. So they all have different pitches that they throw, different change-ups, different grips on drop balls, fastballs. And the one thing that kind of we try to push onto all of them is using their entire body to get a good push off that pitching rubber, and really a fast arm whip as well, and really attack the hitters the way in whatever way they have in terms of whatever pitches they have. You know, we have pitchers in our camps that can throw a really nice drop ball, and we've got some pitchers in our camps that can have the potential, and it's a lot more difficult pitch to throw, is a potential rise ball. And, you know, we work with each pitcher individually and try to work on their strengths, use their strengths, you know, to their advantage, and try to really improve their weaknesses. And one thing that we've really found here at Diamond Academy is trying to maximize that leg drive, and that getting that initial push off the rubber really goes a long ways.
Absolutely. We're talking with the guys here from Diamond Academy. We've got Vance, Justin, and Matt. And Matt, a follow-up question for you here. I know it's something that I've heard parents talking about a lot, and I'm sure it comes up for you guys some too, but maybe not as much. How do you guys just philosophically handle the thought process of you're having a kid that is going to go play for a different high school coach? They might play in a different state, East Grand Forks or Moorhead or whatever it might be. And philosophically, you might have some differences of opinion on what you're teaching as opposed to the high school coach. And my perspective is always, that's great. The more a kid can learn, the better. But are you guys cognizant of that as you're teaching these kids?
Absolutely. I mean, we definitely respect all the coaches in the area, and we think that the more coaching that a kid can get, better off, obviously. And, one thing that we try to do, we try to let the kids be themselves. Like I was saying, they've got different pitches. They got different things that work for them. And our biggest goal is to help them find whatever it is that makes them the best pitcher they can be. Or also hitting wise, we kind of use that same thing for hitting wise is, every kid's got a different stance, or just a little bit different swing. And we want them to be unique. We don't want to build robots here. We want to, let everyone be an individual player, and we try to help them maximize their skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Love what we're talking about here with Diamond Academy. It's almost just turned into a softball conversation more than anything, which is always fun. Swinging it back to you, Vance. You and I were talking before we went on air, so to speak here. You have opportunities in Fargo. You have opportunities in Grand Forks. I want to give you a chance to talk about what you're offering for those two areas.
Sure, yeah. So what we have right now in our Fargo camps is we actually partnered with Sanford Power. So we actually use their facility. It's about to be 7 hours a day starting this week.
Wow.
So we start at 12:45, and then now they go all the way till 8 p.m. So we're getting, like I said, pretty close to that 7-hour mark. The first 3 hours are going to be pitching, and then the last 3 hours are hitting. So during those pitching times, it's us, it's Beth, it's Matt, it's all 5 of us or 3 of us. However it works, depending on who goes to Grand Forks or who goes to Fargo, and just kind of how that's all working. But, we all kind of correlate with each other to make sure that we got enough coaches at all locations. The Grand Forks camps, those that we're up there for a total of 2 hours, but in those 2 hours we rent out 2 gyms. So we have one gym is specific for hitting and one gym specific for pitching. So then what we do is we have older girls pitch, younger girls hit, and then after the hour we have them switch spots. So we're able to maximize our amount of time. So we're actually running 4 hours of camp in 2 hours.
Yeah, that's great. And again, we were kind of talking before we got on, there's kind of a growing trend in the East. There's a little more, I'd call it, formal instruction opportunities like what you guys provide at Diamond Academy, more club or travel ball opportunities than maybe there are out West. And it sounds like you guys are willing to, in the right fit and with the right amount of kids, you're willing to take the show on the road, so to speak, too.
Yeah, we have talked about that, and we've talked about whether if it's going to another city or if it's another city that wants to maybe travel in and do like a 4-hour camp or a 2-hour camp. We can go vice versa. It's just something that we all kind of work on. That's how it started with Grand Forks. That actually started with one guy and his 3 daughters, and he asked about coming here. And then so we talked about it, and then he goes, well, what if I got enough girls and you guys came up here? I said, that's an option. And I said, see what you can do, and then give me a call back. And before you knew it, we were going up there, and there was year one, I think I said we had 18 girls. So it's just a couple phone calls and, starting to look into things. And before you know it, generally stuff works out if it really wants to.
Yeah, absolutely. And continuing down that line, I'll kick this question over to Justin, because I remember coaching against him in a tournament this summer, one of the teams he was coaching for West Fargo. But Diamond Academy is going to have some opportunity this summer for not just the formal instruction, but to potentially play in some league games and certainly some tournaments kind of on that travel club circuit. Just talk about that opportunity that you guys are going to offer.
Yeah, this summer we're planning to have our first year of summer teams. Like right now, it's looking like 18U and 16U will potentially have teams. Hopefully in the future we'll expand that. But we just wanted to give kids the opportunity to get out of Fargo a little bit, travel to some tournaments out of town, and experience what softball's like in the rest of the area. And try to expose them to some college coaches a little more often and kind of see what that upper level of softball looks like and what kind of work they're going to have to put in to try to get to that level of play and, have some fun.
Matt, we'll swing it back over to you. One more question. This temperature, this climate, this part of the country that we live in makes everything more difficult for softball as you compare it to other sports. Volleyball, indoor sport, basketball, indoor sport, on and on. They're not, they have no guardrails based on climate. You guys are doing some really good things given the constraints that we have with the weather around here. But just talk about, you guys have kind of hit on it a little bit, but what's important to accomplish when you're stuck inside for, it seems like 9 months around here?
Well, it's very important to work on your actual technique, whether it's hitting, pitching, fielding. You can work on any aspects of the game, really. If you have an indoor facility like we have here at Sanford Power, we can do anything we want in there in every aspect of the sport. And I think it's really important. We preach this to our athletes is, if we're doing a hitting camp, any swings that you take got to be for a purpose. You're trying to get better on every swing you take. And the time that you do have in a facility, you really got to maximize it and try to just focus on becoming a better player. And that's in terms of the actual softball part. But at the same time, one advantage that we do have of having this climate is you have an off season where you can build your body to become stronger, faster, more flexible. And because when it comes to the regards of being stronger, it goes a long, long ways in the sport of softball. We've had kids in the years past that have come in to our camps, and they're obviously younger, so they're smaller, but as they've gotten older, they've started eating healthier. They've gotten into the weight room multiple times a week, and it is definitely showing when they step into the batting cage or when they step on the pitching rubber. So that is one advantage, I would say, that we have here is, if you want to look at it that way, is off time you actually have time to improve your actual physical health in your body. That way, when you do hit the field and when you do step into the batter's box or on the pitching rubber, you can maximize the strength that you have.
I love that you found a positive in a half-year snow part of the country. That was well done. Very well done. So, hey guys, this has been a fun conversation. Fun to get your take on stuff and to hear what you're doing for the softball community. I suppose kick it back to where we started with Vance. If this resonates with somebody who's listening to this podcast or seeing this posted on our social media pages, how do they get involved? How do they find you guys? Where do they start?
Perfect. Yeah, they can visit our website. It's diamondacademy.teampages.com. And on there, they can find all the details. They can find all of our registrations they can actually still register for camps. The last 4 weeks starts this Sunday. They can still go on there and get registered for that. For pitching, we only have 4 spots left, and that's in the 12:45 to 1:45, and that's for Fargo. Grand Forks is pretty much sold out. Fargo pitching, like I said, we only got the 4 spots in that 1 hour. Our hitting slots, we do have a couple spots left for ages 7 through 12, and then that's from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. And then there'll be probably about 2 slots left from 7 to 8 p.m., and that's going to be more of the advanced 14 to 18-year-old hitters. And then if they want to follow us on social media, we have our Twitter page, we have our Facebook page.
And we'll make sure with this podcast, we'll share out all the links, to both the website and the social media channels. You can find their references on our Twitter and Facebook page too. So you can make sure you can get connected with the guys from Diamond Academy. Vance, Justin, Matt, guys, thanks for taking some time out on what turned out to be kind of a chilly night to chat a little bit of softball here in February.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
That was Shanley head coach Vance Christensen and his partners in Diamond Academy, Justin Feist and Matt Gable. Glad that we could have those guys on. And boy, we could have talked forever about softball there. And because of that, going to shorten up a little bit the segment on coaching changes throughout the state. Frankly, it's been hard to keep up on. I think we're in like the 18-ish neighborhood for new head coaches in 2019. But let's just go to that Northeast subregion, if you will, subregion number 2 in Class B. A couple of coaching announcements that we've at least been made aware of this week. Brad Larson is the new head coach at Grafton. Congratulations to Brad for taking over the Spoilers program. And at Mayport CG, friend of the program, Tim Spurgeon is the new head coach for Mayport CG area, taking over for our good buddy of the program as well, Harry Lipsy, who took that team to a state tournament a couple years ago. So congratulations there. We'll have coaching updates as we get closer to the season. There's still a handful of positions that need to be filled, or at least need to publicly be announced that they are indeed filled. So there's a new coach update. And speaking of coaches, and not speaking of new at all, Mr. Pat Johnson, 19-time state champion in West Fargo. The things he's done with that program are unmatched both in this area of the country and really across the country. And an exciting tweet earlier this week from West Fargo schools on the Twitter. Congratulations to Mr. Pat Johnson, the West Fargo High School softball coach, for being selected as one of the 8 finalists for the NHSACA's National Softball Coach of the Year for 2019. So congratulations to Pat, a legend really in softball coaching in North Dakota and in this part of the country. So transitioning now from coaches to players. Had a few players that officially inked their letters of intent earlier this week or within the last week, and that would be Emma Johnson of the Cheyenne High School program. She signed to play for Chad Slider at Concordia. Congratulations to Emma. Lauren Deemer, this is one that we've had a lead on for a while, but she has inked the paper, so to speak. The West Fargo standout is going to head to Jamestown following her high school career. And a pair of Kuntz girls from Dickinson High School are going to stay in the Dickinson area, in Dickinson specifically, at Dickinson State University. Kennedy Kuntz and Cameron Kuntz, a couple of all-region players there, are signed to stay at home and play with Dickinson State. One other piece of exciting news, maybe done by after you've listened to this podcast, but we are releasing a brand new website. Just so much more we can do with it. Really excited for what we've already put into it. And part of that new website is a college commitments page. We want to keep track of those. So if you know of any college commitments, get them to us. Social media is the easiest way. You can find us on Twitter at NDSB All-Stars. You can also search that on Facebook, no spaces, NDSB All-Stars. Our new website, which will be live February 18th at some point in the day, www.ndsballstars.com. How's that for consistency? My name's Tim House, studio host of the ND Softball All-Stars podcast. Big thanks once again to Vance Christensen, the head coach at Shanley, and his partners at Diamond Academy, which are Matt Gable and Justin Feist. Appreciate those guys joining the program today. Hey, we're getting closer to softball season. Just don't look outside, and we can all believe that it's going to be here soon, about a month away from those first high school practices of the year. That's it for the February edition. Be back in March, and we'll start to kick these things out every week pretty soon, which means softball season's almost here. Stay warm. Get ready. Let's go. It's another edition of the North Dakota Softball All-Stars podcast.